What's going on YouTube? Kevin here from TGITechday, bringing you guys the next video in my How to Become a YouTube Reviewer series. This video will be focusing on editing and post-production, so this is pretty much where you have all the control in the world to make sure that your video review comes out exactly the way you want to and exactly the way that you planned out in your head. So just to clear up a little bit of vocabulary, post-production and editing are pretty much the same thing. They're just a fancy word synonym for each other. So most of the time when you hear YouTube reviewers saying that, oh, I'll just fix that in post, they pretty much mean I'll fix that when I edit the video. Simple enough, right? So without further ado, let's get started and showing you guys how to edit your videos so that it comes out just the way you want it to be. So like I mentioned before, when you edit your video in post-production, you pretty much have the power to manipulate your video to do whatever you want it to be and whatever you want it to look like. So I am a pretty simple video editor, if you guys can figure it out. I use iMovie, so we're going to fire up iMovie here, and we will see that I already have created the project for this particular video. We're going to import our videos, and this is actually kind of an important step. Now I have my video files here, these two clips right here. We're going to select them and then put them in the project. And then we're going to optimize the video at full size, aka the original size. Now I shoot at 720p HD video, so I want to make sure that when I export and when I import the video clips that it stays in that resolution. So going full original size will import your videos at 720p, 1080p, or whatever original size that you have. Granted, it will copy the video instead of moving it as you wish, but you can always delete the original file after it's done copying. So now we're going to import these two clips, and now I will show you guys how I edited that very first part. So after the video clips are done importing, all you have to do is make sure you piece all the parts together. Now, there's one thing that I might want to mention, and this may or may not apply to you. This is completely optional, but if you want to have an interesting video or you want to get your audience attention from the start, you might want a catchy intro. And I don't put this intro on all my videos, but if you guys haven't seen it already, it's that one where you're kind of like flying through space and they have that little glowing orb at the end. But that's kind of my catchy intro that I had a friend make for me, so very grateful for him for making that for me. But if you guys do want to, you can have a catchy intro like that. You can do something simple, you can do something complex, but whatever it will do that, it tells what you're about and it captures your audience's attention. Now granted, this isn't absolutely necessary, and the reason why I don't have that actually put on this particular video is because I feel like that if I do that and the first little slide part, I feel like that has a double intro, so I don't want that. So if you guys want to, you can go ahead and put a catchy intro. If you guys don't want to, that's quite alright as well. So moving on, we're just going to drag and drop some clips in here, and I may or may not cut this part out, but just simple drag and drop the pieces that you want into the video clip, and then you just add your transitions and then something like that. Now the thing is that you can obviously adjust times, you can adjust the volume levels, and the one thing that I wanted to show you was how to sync up audio and audio from an external source, such as what I use my Blue Snowball, and the audio track taken from the camera. So you see here that at the very tip of my cursor, I have an audio recording MP3 file, and if you just drag it into iMovie like this, you'll have that huge green box that pretty much goes over the whole video clip, and that just means that iMovie, if you let the mouse go at this time, will just put it as a background track. And since I don't want that, I'm just going to run my mouse over the clip that I want it to be with, which is this one, and then wait for that green box to go away and then let it go. And you guys will notice that I do have the audio waveforms turned on. Now, if you guys are newer to iMovie or you haven't discovered this feature out, and I didn't discover it until fairly recently, you can turn this on and off by going down to the bottom right corner, and this is the show or hide audio waveform. So by clicking this, you obviously toggle on and off the waveforms. It makes it a lot easier to see. Now, if you just look at the video here for a second, you'll notice that I look stupid and I'm clapping 3 times, but that is solely for the reason to sync up the audio. Now, obviously, I will clip this out, but I have to sync the audio up first, and you can see here that these 3 spikes from the 3 claps show out pretty much from the rest of the audio track. And so I just have to go ahead and match that up. Now because each of these little thumbnail segments is 5 seconds long, I don't like that, so I'm going to change that to 1 second just so I can get a little bit more detailed in how I sync my audio. So I'm just going to trim this for a second and then move it along until the 3 spikes match, and even if I want to, I can change this down to even a half of a second, and then make sure the audio waveforms sync up just right. So now that we synced up the audio wave spikes that we see here from the claps, let's take a look and hear how it sounds in terms of the audio syncing.
What's going on
YouTube? Kevin here from TGITechday, bringing you guys the next video in my How to Become a YouTube Reviewer series. Alright, so that sounds pretty good. So essentially what I'm going to do is I have to get rid of these three spikes because I obviously don't want to show that to you guys in the actual video. So what I have to do is I just have to trim the audio, and you'll notice that when I trim it, I don't move it. This part of the video remains the same. So I just have to trim that down to when I want to start. Oops, I have it muted, my bad. What's going on YouTube? Kevin here. Alright, so that sounds like a pretty good place to start. And so essentially all I have to do is delete the early parts of the video and delete that, and then slowly start deleting the other chunks that I don't necessarily want. And then always to make sure, I always double check to make sure the audio syncs and nothing moved. What's going on YouTube? Kevin here from TGITechday. Alright, so that matches up pretty good. Now the last step is that you have to take away the audio from the original track. Now you can right click on this and hit detach audio, then delete it, or you can just mute it, which is what I do. And so I drag that down to 0%, and then Kevin here from TGITechday, bringing you guys the next video in my How to Become a YouTube Reviewer series. And then voila, you have everything synced up, your audio is nice and good, and everything's working just fine. So now that we've matched up the audio and synced it up with the original video clip, there are a few things I just want to talk to you guys about that can really help with your video production, so that, small things that help your video look good. Of course, we can fiddle around with the audio. If it's too quiet, you can adjust the volume, you can reduce background noise. If the video isn't looking quite right, you can adjust the color options, you can set the white point if you so wish to do so. You can adjust all these different levels in case you want to fiddle around with that. But those are two small things, but that make a huge difference in the long run, so I strongly suggest going ahead and fiddling around with those if you're not satisfied with what your camera and your microphone have recorded for you. The next thing is try not to do too many cuts. And I know this is kind of inevitable at the beginning if you have your intro clip and then you have something before your actual main video. If you're talking like I do here, these cuts and transitions, excuse me, are kind of inevitable. But try to not do too many cuts if you can help it. Like this cut I have right here, this transition, is barely noticeable because the image kind of looks the same on the screen, and my sentence ends right at this thing and then picks up here, or at least it kind of flows a little bit better in that way. So that cut's not too bad. Also, adding things like picture in pictures. This is a picture in picture right here with this my intro here. And granted, in iMovie, if you normally have a picture in picture, it will show it above the main timeline here where my mouse is currently right now. But I actually did this picture in picture in ScreenFlow, so that is why it's not showing up here. But small stuff like that really kind of accents what you're talking about, emphasizes it, shows your viewers that you actually put a little bit extra effort into doing what you're doing and producing that video. So those are a few hints I like to address just to make your video a little bit better. And finally, now I'll go on to talk about exporting. If you go into iMovie, there is a dedicated share menu where you have all these options to share and export your video. Normally I just click share to YouTube, and then this is what I use. However, if you do want a little bit more flexibility, you can always go to the share menu and then go down to export using QuickTime. And here you can click on the options button, and then you have all these videos, the video, sound, and internet streaming options. You have the settings here, which you can change the compression type, the frame rate, keyframes, compressor quality, all this types of stuff. You can also adjust stuff with the sound if you know what you're doing in your audio file maybe, and you want to adjust that, you can go ahead and do that. And prepare for internet streaming, go ahead and do that as well. However, I don't really like this option because I find that just exporting and sharing to YouTube is just fine. Plus, it automatically, after it's done exporting, will upload it to YouTube so that you don't have to do that manually yourself. So I will deal with this whole uploading part next, but the exporting and uploading kind of blended into one step in iMovie. So I will show you guys how to upload specifically just to make your videos show up a little bit better in the search engine, among other things dealing with uploading your video to YouTube. So for now, this pretty much wraps up the video on how to edit in post-production. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next tech day.